Mummification is as old as Egypt.
No one's very sure how the ancient Egyptians decided to mummify the dead, but presumably because the desert naturally dries out people. When animals die and lie in the desert, the Egyptians would have seen those and they would see that they were perfectly preserved. First thing that the Egyptians did was to really desiccate the body, and they did this by using something called natron. Without natron, you couldn't make a mummy.
Natron works like the sachets of silica gel that are used to keep electronic equipment dry today.
Natron's basically a mixture of salt and baking soda, and what it does is it just draws away all the liquid in your body, and that's what makes a mummy.
But certain organs have too much water in them to mummify in this way.
You leave the organs in, they sort of rot and explode. So the next step was to remove the internal organs and the brain. They'd actually cut off the head, poke it, prod it out, and then leave it empty.
So could the head wound in fact be a result of the mummification process, rather than an injury that killed him? At the University of Pennsylvania, Janet Monge has been studying the CT scans of King Tut's mummy.
When damage occurs before the time of death of an individual, it's called antemortem damage, and generally if it's on bone or tissue, you'll see some healing if the person lived. This looks like a post-mortem damage. It could be something that occurred at the time of the embalming process.
The hole in King Tut's skull is consistent with the type of hole made during the mummification process.
It has nothing to do at all with murder or anything, and there is no foul play.
How the king died remains a mystery, but science can help to reveal how he lived. To get inside the head and life of a ruler of Egypt. It appears the pharaoh did not look as regal as his death mask suggests.
He has this nice square chin. Except for that, his face is quite slender, quite slight. Of course, I don't think you would want to make fun of the king, but if the king was in a schoolyard, I think that he might be the kid that you gave the little nickname to, like Bucky or something like that.
The scans clearly show the boy king had buck teeth, unlike his famous mask. The treasure with which the boy king was buried is revealing more insights. Tutankhamun's tomb has produced more riches than all the discoveries of Egypt put together. This famous mask was buried with 6 whole chariots and millions of dollars worth of gold. But what makes this burial unique is the fact it was found absolutely intact.
Beyond the sheer razzle-dazzle bullion factor of all this gold that is measured in hundreds of pounds practically, we have a complete set of burial equipment of a pharaoh of Egypt.
The artifacts go some way to reveal the personality of the pharaoh. They were designed to the same standard as those he would have used in life.
It's amazing to us that they would expend so much energy to create something like one of these little jar stoppers made of alabaster. And they're perfect, exquisite works of art. But they were never meant to be seen by people. They were buried in the king's tomb, never to be seen again.
The type of artifacts and the care with which they are crafted give us an insight into how Tutankhamun lived.
The Egyptians believed that your afterlife was much like this life, except better. So you had to take everything with you.
The objects Tutankhamun wanted in his tomb and the afterlife were the ones he had enjoyed during his lifetime.
We know that he liked a particular Egyptian game called Senet because he was buried with everything from a large